Alright,
Go.
today I'm going to talk about greed. Alright, greed is a selfish, intense, and excessive desire, especially for money and wealth, possessions, or it is he who dies with the most stuff wins. In societal standards, like for example, where there isn't enough to eat, taking seconds is greedy, and like even if your needs outweigh the needs of everyone else. Then fairness also plays a role, not for how much you need, but for how much you deserve. If you help get the food, then maybe you deserve a little bit more. So people without empathy who take more than they deserve, which, while causing the suffering of others, are labeled as greedy. Now, what is the number one cause of greed? Money. Now, first I want to say that money can do a lot of good. It pays for our homes, puts food on the table, clothes on our backs. But there's a flip side to every coin. There's a flip side to every coin. Money can cause poor behavior and selfishness. I read in the New Scientist article that neuropsychologists, they found that when you simply think about words associated with money, then you're more apt to, you become less self-reliant, and you become more self-reliant, and less inclined to help others. So it messes with the way you think. Corporate greed. Corporate greed is the cause for a lot of the struggling in the middle class, and the middle class makes up 70-80% of the United States. So just as, I'm sorry, I don't know what I was going to say. Oh, there it is. All right, there are many criticisms of capitalism, but corporate greed is one of the boldest. Just as peer pressure leads teenagers to use drugs, the corporate culture compels CEOs to make more and more money for themselves and their companies. And the unfortunate thing is that corporate greed affects society. Like in this picture of Sao Paulo, Brazil, you can see that how greed affects society, and it creates financial instability as well as lengthening the gap between the poor and the rich. And then as kids, our parents always tell us love is what matters, but we always seem to go back to how our selfish desires is what matters more. And I found on a blog that this girl from the United Kingdom, she said that she went on a tsunami relief project, as well as paying to go to a conservation project, and she said that I quote, "No one I know has even considered volunteering like this, and they are amazed to find out what I did. It was very rewarding and fulfilling. Yet so many people are just out to get what they can, not even considering society, and try to get as much money as possible without even giving a shit about society." This is Mahatma Gandhi, who is one of the most prominent spiritual and political leaders in India's movement for independence. He inspired movements of nonviolence, civil rights, and freedom across the world. And it was Gandhi who said that there is enough to satisfy everyone's need, but there's not enough for everyone's greed. Can greed be stopped? No, it can't, because it's a human nature. It's human nature to want and desire power and wealth, but it's a human instinct of such magnitude that it cannot be stopped, but it can be suppressed. Since the beginning of humankind, greed has always existed, not just in the monkey who wants all the bananas in the world, but it is taught to us from all angles that greed, that you don't want to aspire to be greedy. For example, Jay Gatsby, Leonardo DiCaprio, he aspired to be one of the wealthiest men in the world just to impress Daisy. He was killed.
One.
And Iago, he wasn't greedy, but he was motivated by greed. Othello, he was jealous how Othello could get anything or anyone he wanted, and all the power that the Moor had. They were killed. And you have Ebenezer Scrooge, one of the most greediest characters of all time, who probably should have been killed. Alright, so I don't have time. So the point I want to make is that not that greed kills people, but it stops us from living.